welcome to another webisode of Make Something Happen. I'm here today with Pastor Jeff Johnson, and he's the pastor of Trinity Lutheran Church, which is over in Cleveland, Ohio on West 30th. And he's the executive director of Building Hope in the City. Now, Pastor Jeff, Pastor Johnson, give us a little background about yourself and tell us about the church and what you're doing.
Well, I got to Cleveland in 1992.
Okay.
And Trinity at the time was a pretty small urban congregation with about 40 folks in it.
Wow.
Everybody in there had either gray hair or blue hair, and they had gotten to a place where they had kind of given up on things ever working.
Okay.
They were just hoping it'd be around long enough to take care of them until they were gone.
Wow.
And so we started to work, and as the congregation grew and began to look more and more like its community and its neighborhood, I started slowly at first to get some requests from folks that said, how'd you do that? And it's not supposed to be growing. It's an urban church.
Exactly.
You know? So we began to help where we could with what we could, and that was really where Building Hope in the City, used it as a springboard to get started from that.
What about your journey? It revolved all around that.
Other than talking about my church and my ministry, there ain't nothing I like talking more about than myself.
We're in the right place because this is Make Something Happen, and that's what it's all about.
All right. After getting thrown out of the military, I was both an alcoholic and a drug addict. I used all kinds of substances freely. I was out of control entirely, but made it through and then failed out of a couple of different rehabilitation locations, but was working construction finally in near the Boulder, Colorado area.
Okay.
When I wandered into a church accidentally on a Sunday morning.
Accidentally.
Yeah, I was sure it was accidental.
Absolutely.
I had gone by a church earlier. I was trying to walk off Saturday night and saw a church building and said to myself, well, I thought it was to myself. I said, self, it's been a long time since you've been in church. When I was a kid.
Yes.
And made a deal with what I thought was myself. I said, well, maybe the next one I go by, I'll go in. And then tried to take a route home that I wouldn't have to go by no churches.
Yes.
And somehow wandered by, accidentally, this very large building that I probably should have seen coming from a long way away, but there it was, and I was standing when I saw it at the foot of the sidewalk looking up to the front door and said, well, I'll go in, but they're going to throw me out. I stink.
You were hoping.
I don't smell good. They're not going to like me. I'm kind of dirty, smelly, and they greeted me with open arms and brought me in and sat me down, and someone sat next to me and showed me where in the hymn book we were singing so I could sing along, and some nice older folks that were there to kind of bring me along with. And it was still about 6 months to go from that before things changed for me, but that was the beginning.
That was the beginning. Well, we're going to take a quick break and tell us some more about that when we come back.
Did you know that your opinion matters? Did you know that your vote really counts? Well, it does, at least as soon as you apply this right. But what's a right anyway if you never use it? It's yours and nobody can take it from you, right? Wrong. By not having what you need in order to vote, you allow this right to be taken away, which is un-American, unjust, and unfair. Take a stand. Go to www.project5millionvoterid.com and place your mark in the history today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Howard Cohn, and I'm here to tell you about the key to alkalizing your body, and that's our 7.2 greens. This product is amazing. You'll never find anything else like it on the market. This thing has taken so much time to put together to get it exactly the way we want it so that you can literally eat it out of your hand, out of the container. Most people know that if they eat greens, they're going to be healthier. They start doing it, they do it for a day or two, they try wheatgrass or they try eating spinach or broccoli and they go, you know what, I can't do this. It tastes like I'm licking the bottom of my lawnmower. And they stop. They know it's good, but they stop and they don't do it. We've engineered these greens to taste amazing. I can't wait for you to try them. Our 7.2 greens are made with all organic ingredients, certified organic ingredients. Our cereal grasses, which are barley grass, oat grass, alfalfa, and wheatgrass, all organic. Our alkalizing vegetables of parsley, broccoli sprouts, spinach, kale, cabbage, carrot, and more, all organic. Our flavoring, which is apple and raspberry, organic. And even our Lohan berry, all natural sweetener. No algae, no soy fillers, no artificial flavors, no colors, no sweeteners. There is nothing on the market like this. I've tried literally hundreds of greens products, all a disappointment. I've had tons of patients say they can't do it. For the first time ever, we have a greens product that people will not only take, but they'll love. I can't wait for you to try it.
We're back with Pastor Jeff Johnson, pastor of Trinity Lutheran Church. And Pastor, when we left off, you're beginning to tell us about your journey. And you got to a church, you didn't really want to be there, you were hoping they would throw you out, but when you got there, they received you with open arms and began to minister to you. Take it from there.
Okay, well, they did. I still wasn't all that interested in church. I still was very interested in getting high. Still very interested in living life the way I wanted to live it. But in the month of December of that year, the company I was working for sent me to North Dakota on a job. And I was looking forward to going back up into the Minnesota area so I could look up some of the boys. And when I got there, I'm kind of a slow learner, but it dawned on me that with most of them either dead or in jail, maybe this particular life wasn't working like I thought maybe it was.
Yes.
That was December. I can't honestly tell you the day in January, but I can tell you in December, I really didn't want anything to do with God much. By February, that's the only thing I cared about.
Wow.
Somewhere in that month of January, things changed considerably for me. And so the path kind of got started. Through the process of it, of course, I gave up a number of the larger things in my life. And as I did that, and as I worked through those issues, I got even came to a place where I was now married and had a couple of kids, and came home one day and told my wife, honey, I think God's calling me to go to Africa.
Wow.
And she said, I think that's a good idea. Why don't you write when you get there? And
that was not the answer I was
hang on, yeah. It wasn't what I was looking for. I was kind of hoping you'd come along with it.
Yes.
But I said, that church we were talking about, that Lutheran church we were looking at maybe getting to be a part of, I think they want me to go to school or something. I hadn't ever been to college. I was fortunate to even get out of high school. And they did want me to go to school, a lot of it.
Wow.
They wanted a bachelor's degree, and then they wanted me to go to seminary. I said,
wow. It'll put you on a great path.
Yeah. I said, well, if you just come along with me on that and pray, by the end of it, if you still don't want to go, I don't think they'll send me anyway. So it's all in your control, kind of. And she liked that.
Okay.
And I think she'll tell you still today that the only reason she came is because she was certain I'd never do 8 years of nothing. 8 years in a straight line didn't sound like me.
Yes.
So, okay, I'll go with you, and then when you come up with the next great thing, then I'll end up going along on that too. But
great supporter.
we finished. We finished.
Awesome.
She stayed with me, and we stayed with it, and we got through, and we were all set. I had along the way during school, I had planted 6 other congregations as we went along, 6 different churches.
Okay.
About the time they'd want to have their first committee meeting, I'd find a pastor to take it, and I'd move on and plant another one. But I was still going overseas.
Okay.
I had been to the Ivory Coast several times by now. There was a civil war going on in Liberia at the time, and I was working alongside the refugees that were coming out of that war. Already had done our first 1,000 baptisms.
Wow.
Getting ready and set. The church at large was going to send a couple of families with as we learned French, and then went permanently to Cote d'Ivoire. And then I failed my psych exam. Yeah, the psychologist, and I'm not saying he was wrong.
Right. Okay.
I'm saying, he determined that I was too type A. I would work too hard, put too much time into my work, and thereby not enough time into my family. And without me as support, the family unit may well come apart.
Wow.
And then we'd be back here for counseling, and church would have wasted his money, so no, he couldn't recommend they send me. That's what I
That was
said.
like, okay, that's my path. It's the path of the road here.
Yeah,
Or fork in the road.
right, and now I ain't going. By now, Terry's convinced, no, this is probably is what God wants for us. And now what do we do?
Yeah.
And so at the seminary and the system we currently have, on what they call call day, on the day when you walk across, you get your diploma, but you also get your first assignment.
Okay.
Instead of Tu le plais, Côte d'Ivoire, they called Cleveland, Ohio.
It was like, what?
What? It didn't have the same ring to it. I'm just saying, it didn't sound quite as genteel. It didn't sound as
No
foreign and
part of
exciting.
the français.
Oh, not that. Trinity Lutheran Church, Cleveland, Ohio. And so in 1992, that's how we got here.
Wow.
We came to Trinity, we came to Cleveland, and I didn't take me but about one pass through the neighborhood, and I was excited already because I couldn't find a place that had been more cross-cultural,
Okay.
more opportunities for me to reach more different kinds of people than right here in the city.
Wow. So
And
that
so
kind
that's
of
how we got
answers.
our start.
Okay. And that kind of answers the next question that was in my head that I'm not going to ask of having that disappointment, but it really wasn't a disappointment. You just went on with anticipation, and then here you were, and then you were excited when you got here. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You put your roots down,
Mm-hmm.
and here we are today.
And been here since then, which is another one that nobody ever expected to happen.
Okay, you lasted here all those years.
20 years
20
now I've been
years.
here.
Wow, that's exciting.
But there's so much to be done, and so many different things to be done.
Okay.
That I can't hardly catch up with it all, let alone get bored.
Yes. Now, is your wife, your family, are they involved in the ministry with you?
They always have been.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can do this work. I've seen a number of guys and gals come in to pastor churches or try to do work down here in the city, and they'll try and treat it like a job. He goes into work during the week, and I go do my thing during the week. And,
Yes.
and I don't know that it ever works like that, or at least not very well.
Yes.
You need to do this as a unit, as a family.
Okay.
And so that's how it's been for us all along. Now, my 4 boys are all grown and gone.
Okay.
They're out doing postgraduate work in different universities and whatnot, but they're not in the house anymore.
All right.
And so it's just Terry and I, but it still is a part of who they are, and it's still a part of who we are.
Okay. Well, that's great. We'll take another break, and we'll be right back.
Camp Tech allows you to create endless possibilities. We teach interactive technology through game, graphic, web design, 3D animation, and filmmaking for youth, businesses, parents, seniors, toddlers, for all ages. For more information, please visit our website at camptechonline.com. Camp Tech, creating endless possibilities.
Imagine having 16 people located anywhere in the world on a live video conference at the same time. That is the power of My Video Boardroom. This is an exciting product because within the boardroom, you can do presentations, PowerPoints, share your desktop, and so many more features. Include up to 16 video participants. Chat. No reservations required. Toll or toll-free numbers. Up to 100 attendees via phone. VoIP audio, application sharing, and desktop collaboration. The only person that needs the My Video Talk account on this conference is you, the person that schedules the meeting. Everyone else just needs internet access and a simple webcam to be part of the action. With our unique setup wizard, you can be up and running in minutes. Imagine how this product could cut down on travel time and...
We're back now again with Pastor Jeff Johnson, the pastor at Trinity Lutheran Church and executive director of Building Hope in the City Mission. Pastor Jeff, we left off, you were talking about your journey, and that was awesome, your story and what you're doing and your family, how they've actually grown up with you in the ministry, and that's very exciting how that works, as you said, as a family unit to be successful, and success, yes, in kingdom work. And I met you for a phone call. I went to Columbus and visited a friend. She was telling me about this group that she was in, and she was very excited. It was called CR. And I'm like, what is that? What is, CR? She told me a little bit. She said, I think you might enjoy it. I'm like, okay, so I'm blindly, and I go on the internet and look it up and find out who's in the area. I'm not driving right now, so I said, where can I get too close, the bus and still, check this out and participate. And when I found that I saw your name was familiar because I'd heard you been interviewed by, I think it was Mark Zimmerman on 103 on Moody Radio. And so tell us a bit about, what does CR stand for, first of all, and what is that?
CR is a Christ-centered recovery program.
Okay.
So Celebrate Recovery is what CR stands for. It started out in California with one man who was recovering but felt as though he needed a program that put his higher power in the center. And Jesus Christ was the only higher power with power that he knew about. So he began this process where he took the same steps that are in a recovery program. He applied them to principles that he found in the Beatitudes in Matthew.
Okay.
Those Beatitudes and those 12 steps brought him to 8 principles that sound very much like the 12 steps in the 12-step program. And so really, essentially, it's a 12-step recovery program, but it is Christ-centered, and it has to do with people's hurts, habits, and hang-ups they talk about. So people with all kinds of issues can get involved in a CR program. You don't have to be a drug addict. You don't have to be an alcoholic. You don't have to have all the typical issues that people get involved in recovery for. You can have anger and control issues and still do very well in a CR program.
Yes, that's awesome. So we all kinds, and so plug it in. I think it's an awesome program, and just people need to really know about that. They maybe get one-on-one therapy, and maybe a professional or their best friend.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you push forward a little bit, but sometimes you really need that group dynamic. And then having it being biblically based, Christ-centered, as you said, that it really just kind of just hones it in and just really just ties it all in together.
It does.
So people can get on with their life and get over some of that old negative self-talk and things that have been going on in their life for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, maybe it's been only a year because of some tragedy or major life-changing event, and just never really reconnected back in a normal way. Yeah, that's awesome. So what are some of the things or successes within that program, and from there tell us other. I know the mission, I'm sure they're doing other things too for outreach and bringing people to Christ and just helping people where they are in a holistic way.
Well, Building Hope in the City, because of the way it started, is essentially an evangelistic organization, though it looks an awful lot like a community development organization at the same time, because we try to reach not just individuals with the gospel, but entire communities, but do that kind of through the church and through a church leader. So where we can find a congregation or perhaps a leader who's going to be planting a new congregation, and they want to change a community, they want to make a difference in a neighborhood, then we help supply them with resources, not specifically dollars, though some of that, more so with volunteer resources, with tools, we call them, from our toolbox, and those would be programs that we know work and how they work best and how they're best applied, and we get busy with whoever it is to provide them with assistance. Currently, Building Hope in the City has about 400 volunteers every month that drive into the city or are from the city itself, and together they're making a larger impact than any one of our congregations was making.
Yes.
And so, in largest part, what we do is connect God's people to the work that's being done.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. It is, and they do it in all kinds of ways. We have after-school tutoring programs where we get one volunteer across the table from one student, and every Thursday or every Sunday or whichever program date they're on, they sit down and they not only talk about mathematics and English, they end up talking about life.
Okay.
And sometimes it's the student at school and the teacher, and sometimes it's the other way around, but one way or another you get around to grace and to the gospel somehow.
Yes.
Periodically, I'll get people that come in to tutor for us that really aren't Christian or don't care so much about Christian activities.
Okay.
In that case, I give them some of my kids
Mm-hmm.
from my programs and from my church.
Little warriors.
I let my little warriors have
Sound
at it.
like
That's
it.
right. That's what it is. And they're not embarrassed to invite them along to listen to them sing in church or to ask them questions, because kids don't necessarily understand that religion is a private matter.
Yes.
They ignore that altogether. We also do a lot of kids' church programming or job partnership training programs. We do a lot of work with refugee and immigrants that are coming into our community almost every day, getting off the airplane. They don't get a lot of choice if you're a refugee.
Okay.
If you're a refugee and you're in a camp someplace in the world, driven out of your country with war and violence, you are where you are, and then you get scooped up by someone like the American government, which is a blessing, but you're not getting a lot of choices, and then you find yourself, after living in relative heat someplace else in the world, in Cleveland, Ohio. So here you are, like it or not. Now what do you do?
Yes.
Many of these folks have never used an electric or a gas stove. They've never used a sit-down toilet before.
Wow.
They are fearful sometimes of elevators, because you
all these things
walk up there and someone goes in, the door's shut, the door's open, and they're gone.
What happened?
And so what they really just need are, more than anything, while we do ESL classes and we do a variety of other things, they also really just need mentors. People to walk along with them who've been given by their parents, their grandparents, by living here in America, all kinds of things that they take for granted, really.
Yes.
But they can pass them on to somebody who really needs them. And it's a real gift.
That's awesome. So your ministry still has a global impact. You're still making a global impact.
Absolutely.
So even though you aren't physically over on the coast anymore, Ivory Coast or the other countries that you would like to go to,
That's right.
they're coming here and you're still able to serve them. That's awesome. So
We do.
Yeah, so your heart, that you had, that passion that you had when you were traveling, it was still there. You still got to serve. So it was definitely a divine.
That's right.
A divine assignment wherever you go, because we do have people watching all over the world right now watching our show. So that's important. What are some of the countries that you're touching right now with this?
Most recently in Cleveland, refugee-wise. Now immigrants are different status, but refugee-wise, most recently Cleveland has been Burundians, which are East Africa.
All right.
And we've also had Burmese, which is Asia, north of India. There is a lot of Arabic immigration in Cleveland that we work with, along with a variety of the countries that are around the two that I mentioned. And so a lot of African and Asian work that we've been doing lately.
Okay, and so that's your background.
And then the biggest divide that we end up helping people with maybe isn't necessarily a country as much as it is the difference in the color line green, and those folks who have it and those folks who don't.
Yes.
And it seems to me that many people in the middle and upper class believe that poor folks are just like they are, they just ain't got as much money, and isn't necessarily true. We think different, we react different, we have different sets of values, and because I have so many people coming in to help us, which is a wonderful thing, and to assist us in working with people, they sometimes don't come in with perceived ideas about the way things are that are wrong, which can hurt what they're doing for the sake of the gospel. And so we spend a lot of time doing education as well. I do a lot of cross-cultural training classes. We do a lot of classes for tutors or specific classes for ESL teachers. But we do a lot of classes just on how to understand one another, how to get along with one another, how to be together in this global world that we operate in.
Yes, that is so key. Absolutely.
Yeah,
because you're right. We kind of grew up in our areas, and that's what we know. We figure everyone else should be like that.
That's right.
As well. Just total opposite. Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're Pastor Johnson. From there, what do you see with the future? What is your vision for the future? That's a big one. Should we take a break or should we go on?
This might be a good time for a break.
Okay. We're going to cut back actually, we just had our last segment. We're gonna dream a little bit and see what the vision is that he's writing down and just making it plain. We'll be right back.
Blessings Music Fest and Brother Lou Acosta invite you to a comedy show and gospel program. Friday, August 3rd, a family comedy show with 6 hilarious comedians, including Mike Paramore, Patsy B, Jay Hendren, Keith Bender, Angel Isaac, and Mike Head. Also, a gospel song competition. And on Saturday, August 4th, an elegant evening of gospel with national recording artist the Neville Sisters, along with American Idol Scott Sable, Pastor Pete Figueroa, Exodus Chapter 5, News Channel 5 Shay Harris, and the winners of the gospel song competition. Both shows at the Lorraine Palace Theater, only 25 minutes from downtown Cleveland. These shows will sell out. For tickets, go to blessingsmusicfest.com. For more information, call 440-670-7017. That's 440-670-7017. Friday, family comedy. Saturday, gospel with the Neville Sisters, August 3rd and 4th.
This is your day to shine, your time to win. So raise your cup and drink.
Hii coffee ni nzuri sana, kwa hivyo tunatakikana kukunywa, alafu tunasaidia dunia yote, trayendo los tesoros de la tierra a la gente del mundo.
Your time to win. Why do the same when you can go? Why do the same when you can go beyond, beyond, beyond? Go beyond.
Back now, all right.
Okay.
Pastor Johnson, the future.
The future.
Yes.
We're working a lot with church planting
Okay.
and all the things
Now,
that
what is that church planting?
Church
Explain
planting,
that
starting new churches,
Okay.
new congregations in different places. There's several different ways to plant a new church.
Mhm.
We lean toward working more often with more of an organic look,
Okay.
something that starts smaller, starts relationally.
Mhm.
You could go in, rent a big building,
Yes.
get a big choir, get a good preacher,
Mhm.
turn on the lights, do the PR, and just start.
Say
And they'll
boom.
come. Boom. It's not quite that easy, but that's one way to do it.
Yes.
I prefer working through, at least in the communities that we work in, something a little more relational, something a little smaller. It does start slower, and it does mean that rarely do those churches get as big. So the incomes perhaps aren't as large, but I think you impact more people like that, and ultimately that's what we're trying to do. How many
Yes.
people can we get the gospel to?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can get 100 of those little churches with 50 to 100 people in them, in
Yes.
100 different neighborhoods around the Cleveland area, rather than do one church of 500 or 1,000 in the center of Cleveland,
Yes.
in my mind, I'm making a different impact, a larger impact with the smaller churches that are spread through communities. So folks can walk to their church, they get on a bus and get to their
Yes.
church. This is in my neighborhood, these are my people, we know each other, and now we're ready to get to work on our neighborhood.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's
Just to have a personal
Mhm.
commitment there. I like that.
That's right. So that's what we'd like to see happen.
Mhm.
Neighborhoods being lifted up through small congregations in their midst.
Mhm.
And as those neighborhoods are each lifted up in different places all over the Cleveland market, that we would lift up a city as well.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then, of course, Building Hope in the City doesn't operate just in Cleveland.
Okay.
We currently are working with folks based on who invites us in
Mhm.
Washington, D.C., down
Okay.
in Cincinnati, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Chicago,
All right.
Las Vegas, Kansas City.
Okay.
So as people call us, as they invite us to come in and talk with them, as they ask for help,
Yes.
if God, that's what God leading them to, and they believe we've got something that they can use,
Got a blueprint.
I'm happy to help.
Yes. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I like that nationally because what you're doing it has to be duplicatable.
It does.
To make an
It
impact.
absolutely
If you're
does.
doing this big work and it's right here, but it can't be transferred to another area or somebody else can't do it, then why do it?
Yeah, it can't be just
It's
a
almost
personality-driven
self-serving.
thing.
Yes.
And when I die, then it goes away.
You're right,
It's
exactly.
not what
Exactly.
we want.
Right. Because
So,
this is God's plan.
we
He's just
replicate
using
it.
us to make exactly. That's fantastic. And again, how long has this been the mission been going on?
Well, Building Hope in the City
Mhm.
started in 2003. I've been down at
2003.
Trinity since
Mhm.
1992.
Right.
All the news that there is to find
Okay.
by going to buildingopenthecity.org.
All right.
O-R-G.
Okay.
Buildingopenthecity.org. You'll find all kinds of information in there on how to get started, how to get involved, how to contact us.
Great.
My audio blogs that you'll hear on WCRF are all listed on that site somewhere in there. You can find out what you need to find out as you get in there. There's a book coming out in the fall,
Awesome.
but I just turned the manuscript over to the publisher, so I haven't got a date yet and information. When it comes out, I am sure you'll find that on the website as well.
Yes, we'll definitely look forward to that. And I know it's going to be a book signing and all that. I'd
Sure.
love to
Yes,
be able
there
to
will.
engage and plug into that with you as well. Well, Pastor Johnson, if there is anything else that you want to leave us with?
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
God has
welcome.
not left the city,
Yes.
and He has not left you. And it doesn't matter where you believe you've been going. He can change it.
Absolutely.
I know it's true.
Amen. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But thanks again.
Thank you very
Look
much.
forward to seeing you very soon. And you go out and make something positive happen in your community. Take care.